Hey there riders, Moto Journo Kris here today, and I wanted to talk ergos of the GSX-S1000 from Suzuki. I've been lucky enough to borrow Moto Hub's demo bike, as you can see here. They come in the grey or a black. I went the grey because obviously it's going to stand out a little bit better in my videos and pictures and things. So as you can see here, it's pretty cool, but if you like the Street Fighter effect, you might want the black one. And I'm going to talk about the ergos and rider fit with me as a comparison point. I've got a 32-inch inseam. I'm about 180 centimeters, 70 kilos, but quite often I'm riding with a big camera bag, so probably 80 kilos is, my on the bike weight. And I want to give you an idea about how this bike is likely to fit you and how it fits me. 8-10 millimeter seat height, so not super tall, not super low, nice kind of mid-range height there that should suit a wide variety of riders. It does have quite a narrow kind of design just here, not the narrowest, but also not the widest either. And while the seat does get quite wide at the rear for comfort, so you can move back in that, the reach to the ground is quite easy. There is, however, a very wide tank, and that's something that I always found on the GSX-Rs. I found the tank a little bit wide for me. On this, I didn't find it so much of an issue, but it is quite a wide tank and it does expand out quite a lot, particularly across the top. I didn't feel like it was narrow between the knees, but that's probably not that much of a concern for most people. And if you like your GSX-Rs, this is going to be just like those. So both feet down flat, as you can see here, for a 32-inch inseam with plenty of room to spare, and that makes it an easy reach to the ground. And particularly if you're only getting 1 foot down and you can move across on the seat a little bit, it should be fairly easy to get a foot down on this particular bike. Rolling it around, you do feel that it's a 210 or 214 kilo bike. However, as soon as you're moving under power, you'd never really know. It feels like a much lighter and much more responsive machine, realistically speaking, and it's quite a nimble handler. So just sitting on the bike, as you can see here, in kind of a fairly relaxed seating position, it's nice and upright. They've actually moved the bars a little bit closer to the rider from what I understand as far as the updates for this model, but they're a very wide bar, and as you can see here, there's a little bit of a downward slant on my arms to those bars, and it's, I would say, a fairly upright and, as I normally say, commanding seating position from this style of bike. However, what I did find myself doing was kind of crouching in with a lot of the riding I was doing, or I was having a bit of fun through the twisties. Also, moving around on the bike was very, very easy, and locking in between the pegs and the tank. And certainly the width of the tank meant that I wasn't really kind of grabbing the tank between both legs most of the time. I was more locking in and kind of moving off the bike a little bit through the corners and stuff like that. But the ease of moving around on the bike meant that I could do that really easily, and I'm a fairly lazy rider, so the fact that I could move around on the bike and it was so natural, it was so easy, and it worked so well through the corners was really exceptional for me. I was very, very happy with that. I'm also happy, I think, that those bars have been moved back a little bit because that felt quite natural. The dash there, it may require a little bit of a glance down in some cases, but hard to complain about that. Very good vision through those mirrors, adjustable brake lever, non-adjustable clutch lever, and not the lightest but not the heaviest clutch lever. I wouldn't want to be spending hours and hours stuck in traffic, but for general use, no issues whatsoever. Switch blocks, nice and simple. One of the easy start things where you just like flick it down and it'll start up and it kind of burbles into life very, very nicely. That's nice to see. You've also got some hazard lights on a switch there, and apart from that, you just got your flasher for passing or for your high beams, and you've got a mode button and toggles which take you through all of the settings in the dash. LCD dash, it's not the brightest dash, especially keeping in mind it's an LCD, it's not a TFT, but very easy to look at and see everything in a glance, and very easy to go through. Really, the main things I was worried about was the ride modes between A, B, and C, and the traction control with 5 settings, and that was very easy to do on the fly, which is all that I could ask for. Apart from that, pillion seat on the rear. Not a bad pillion seat really, but I don't have a pillion with me today, so not something I'm going to go into too much detail about. And you can see there you've got the pillion pegs. The seat to peg ratio, nice and relaxed, but at the same time, as you'd expect from this kind of sportier naked bike, it's very easy to take your weight through the pegs, which is, I would say, important through the twisties and for moving around on the bike, and also for helping the suspension and staying, engaged with the bike. The risers, obviously, as you can see on the front here, do lift those bars up, which is part of what gives it that nice, comfortable overall ergonomic. And yeah, it's a nice bike to jump onto for me at 180 centimeters, 32-inch inseam. Everything is very natural, and moving around on the bike as you'd want to when you're riding hard is super easy. And I think that is why I tend to default back to liking naked bikes as far as road bikes, because while they're not as insane as the super sport or the superbike style machines like the GSX-Rs, they are just a much better proposition, I would say, as far as overall comfort on the road. But also, this kind of style bike, you feel the speed a lot quicker and a lot sooner and a lot more easily, which means while you can still absolutely fang this machine and go real quick, the reality is that you don't have to go as quick to feel like you're having a lot of fun, which is the huge advantage of a naked bike over a super sport style machine. I guess the final point of note is that there are adjustable KYB forks and shocks, so there's a little bit more adjustability to work with if you're a different weight than me, perhaps a little bit heavier, a little bit lighter, to try and get the suspension settings set up for you, which is a nice kind of more premium feature on a bike. These are 17.3 on the road right away, so a super competitively priced bike as well, considering it's a 1000cc machine, 150 horsepower, almost 110 newton meters of torque, heaps and heaps of performance, an exceptional overall package. If you're more interested in hearing about that, check out my full review. But at the end of the day, this thing is a really ideal kind of everyday naked bike, I would say, both from a comfort and ergonomics perspective and being quite inviting for the vast majority of riders, but also when it comes to riding the bike as well. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on the GSX-S1000. What do you reckon? Would you grab one of these or perhaps the 750? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, stay safe out there and thanks for watching.